that is the Tower Bridge there. Okay.
What's that?
And right in between there, that's the post office tower with the revolving restaurant on top. And look, Gidbar! And welcome to another programme of Eurospice. And today we're coming to you all the way from London. And right now we're on the HMS Pursuer on the River Thames, which is being manned by the Sussex University Royal Naval Unit.
जी हाँ, आज का प्रोग्राम हम आपके लिए लंदन से ला रहे हैं और आज का प्रोग्राम बिल्कुल अलग सा है, अलग चीज़ें हैं और अलग बातें हैं और देखें आज के प्रोग्राम में क्या है.
That's right, today's program is going to be very, very different to our usual norm, and we're going to be discussing a subject that a lot of you write in and tell us about: culture and identity. In particular, culture and identity when you're working perhaps in the armed forces or in other professions. So stay with us. Spielberg, let's get the show on the road.
अच्छा तो प्राग, आज हम किस टॉपिक पे बात कर रहे हैं?
Well, Humma, the thing is that we've had a lot of letters from many of our viewers saying that they want to hear more about culture and identity of people. And one of the facts that comes to my mind is that we get into professions sometimes, you know, and we perhaps start to lose our identity, or perhaps our professions don't let us maintain that culture. What do you think?
हाँ बिल्कुल, क्योंकि मैंने भी ये सुना है कि कुछ ऐसे प्रोफेशंस होते हैं जिनमें हम जाके अपना कल्चर बिल्कुल भूल जाते हैं.
Well, it so happens that there's a group of people here in a profession. Let's go and have a chat with them, shall we? Let's go. Hello there, let me come right over here. Now, you're all very smartly dressed. You're obviously, are you at a fancy dress party?
Not really. I hope not.
So can you tell us what is this uniform for?
It's for special occasions that we wear. That happened. But at the moment, I mean, today it's not a special occasion, but obviously for the ethnic minority recruiting. We've got
ethnic minority recruiting. Now, recruiting for what?
Well, recruiting for trying to put the message out there for a lot of Asian people that, you know, there are other Asian people in the forces, and you know, there's nothing to be scared of. And a lot of our Asian people are scared to think, well, it's all white, and there's, you know, there's not a lot of Asians or Muslims or whatever religious people in there, or you can't even basically you know, follow your own religion. But obviously, I mean, I stick to my religion. A lot of the other people do as well.
Right. So basically, you're in the armed forces, and we're actually talking about culture and identity. Now, having joined the armed forces, do you think that you're starting to lose your identity or culture?
Not really. Inshallah, I'm off to Hajj on Sunday for 3 weeks. So I don't personally think I've ever actually lost my identity.
I actually grew up in India, and I'm half Indian. And I'd always wanted to join the forces, and the Navy seemed to be the best way of seeing the world. I wasn't eligible for the Indian Armed Forces, so I came here and passed the officer selection 8 years ago now.
What importance does culture play in your life?
Culture, right. I think it plays a very important part in my life. My culture is Indian. My ethics are Indian because I grew up there. All my family are Indian, so I do have strong Indian values. Having said that, having lived in this country now for 9 years and done a job professionally in the Navy for the last 7.5 of them, there's a crossover where you take the best from each and then, you know, act accordingly.
Well, I'm in the submarine service, and it's very, I think I've only seen about 2, maybe 3 ethnic minority people in the submarine service, so it's very difficult to say, but there aren't that many at the moment. Whether that's going to increase or what, I don't really.
There's obviously a drive to recruit more and more people, but do you think that, for example, within the Asian communities, we're very cultured and traditions are very important? Do you think you start to lose those, perhaps, working in the armed forces where you may be away from home on long periods of time?
Well, that's up to the individual themselves. You know, if they want to stay within that culture, then there's nothing to stop you from staying in that culture.
How do you maintain that in the armed forces?
I suppose practicing my religion. When I go home, I kept, like, I know about Christmas, and I kept all the rosé and everything, and reading the mass whenever possible, and read the Quran and that. So.
Right.
Because everyone who does the job is no different from any white person who does the job. But like come weekends, there's actually everyone still has their socialising time, and the Navy don't care you on who you socialise with. There's no rules to say, as long as you don't go with the criminal elements, obviously, you know. But you're still open to your own culture at the weekends, and who you socialise with is your own business.
We see this as a partnership. We have to provide the conditions which an increasing number of members of diverse groups would like to work within the Navy. We don't know what those necessarily are until we start to bring people in. So we have to start from ground zero. And so things like adjusting the dietary provision is an important area. Looking at religious requirements, looking at cultural dress requirements, looking at patterns of work so that it's possible to get people on leave at times which are convenient. All of these things are available for negotiation within the structure of the service. We are keen to put the barriers back, reduce barriers and push back the envelope of employment within the Navy. And the more people we get, the more we will understand, and together we'll go forward in partnership.
That the Royal Navy is beginning to sort of realise that Asians or ethnic minorities can play quite a big part in the Royal Navy, and especially stuff towards food and culture-wise and religion. They're beginning to adapt to it, which will help ethnic minorities.
I'm lucky because I'm Catholic, and my wife's a Hindu, so I know a bit of religion, and with that it helps me with the job. Like I've been to the temple at Brent during Diwali festivals and all that, and getting involved with the Hindu community.
Do you think that the armed forces are doing enough to help individuals keep their identity and culture?
Very much so, very much so. I mean, I've been in the Navy 27 years, but I could honestly say over the last 10 to 15 years, we've gone a long way forward.
Until last year, there were less than 1% of the Navy who had a black or an Asian background or another ethnic background. That is unacceptable. The Navy should be representative of British society. An awful lot of people from the black and the Asian communities have a whole lot to offer to the defence of the nation, chance to have a first choice career for themselves in the armed forces, in the Navy, and we want to give them that opportunity. This year we've targeted communities where we think that opportunity should be given to people, and our figures will show that we've doubled the number of people who have been recruited from a black or an Asian background or another ethnic background. It should be about 2% per year. Now that's not great, but it's an awful lot better than it was, and we want to sustain that, and our target is to move up to 5% by the year 2002.
Don't you think that perhaps there's a stereotype view that you join the Navy and you're going to become a different person, and perhaps from an Asian perspective, a lot of Asians may think that, well, I'm going to join the Navy and I'm going to become totally different, I'll lose all my identity and culture?
Well, I think that's a very naive perspective, because, I mean, I've been in the Royal Marines for almost 24 years now, and I don't think I've lost my identity. I think my views have changed, certainly, because of the people I've met, not just coloured people, but also white people as well. I think you've got to have a sense of humour, which is very important in any walk of life. And as I say, I don't think I've lost my identity. I think I've grown. And I've grown because of my experiences, the places I've been to, and the people I've met. So I don't think you lose your identity.
Oh, definitely not. You never lose your identity, because I'm Asian. Yeah, I'm British, but I am Asian. I think of my cultural roots are quite important to me. But that said, obviously, I want to serve my country, and this is my country. So this is what I'm doing. It's the best way that I could see, which I could serve my country and fulfil one of my childhood desires, which was to fly. So, which is what.
Now, it's interesting you say this is your country, because a lot of people may be watching the programme and saying, well, how can he say that? He's come here for betterment, as many of our parents perhaps may have done. But do you think society has now accepted that this is also your country?
On the large, I'd say yes, they have. It's among the younger generation, I'd say that a lot of people would say yes, this is our country, and wider society would accept it as well. In the case of the parents, probably because they came from the subcontinent, as it is, they've got different views about it. I mean, they're still trying to blend in, as you say, into society. That's fine.
Now, many Asian parents, they bring their children up saying, we want you to be doctors, lawyers, dentists, accountants. What sort of facilities are offered for those parents to send their children? How would you encourage those parents to send their children into the armed forces?
Okay, well, For the professions, we employ accountants, doctors, dentists, hydrographers, map makers, all sorts of technical specialities, including engineering. And we have an extensive sponsorship scheme for universities, which are paying either the whole of your university fees, plus your living expenses, and in some cases a salary on top of that as well. So there are bonuses, benefits, bursaries, scholarships available, and not only for university students, but also for A-level students as well. So the thing to do is, if you feel that a career in the armed services, and particularly the Navy, is something which might be attractive in the longer term, then you approach the Navy, find out whether you have what it takes to get one of these scholarships, sponsorships or whatever, and then we take you through the process, and it is a mutual partnership.
You heard earlier on today when Commander Manchanda was talking about, the wearing of turbans in service, having places to go and say prayer, all those various things. We've had the launch today of the halal food and the various different diets that they're catering for. So these are things that weren't around, in my time, 24 years ago. And had they been, perhaps we may have attracted more people from the ethnic minorities into service. But more and more now, we're breaking those barriers down, hopefully. We're seeing more and more coloured faces in the armed forces, which is a good thing because it does reflect society.
I think cultural awareness is a very, very important factor, not just in the armed forces, but in civil suit as well. All employers are aware of the multicultural diversity of their employees, their workforce, and they have to adapt to suit. I don't think an employer would last very long if it didn't adapt to the diversity of races in this country.
Well, we support any institution or organisation which is trying to increase the number of ethnic minorities where there is a shortfall. The armed forces are an outstanding example of this, but we are seeing people in the private sector as well, such as the major financial institutions, also making quite big inroads into their ethnic recruitment policies. So I think there is a general shift towards more equality in society generally, and that's only a positive thing for our community.
The time is perfect for them to embark on the career with the Royal Navy. We have a benefits package which is second to none. We're not offering you jobs, we're offering you a career. Come on board. If the thing I say is that, if you come from the Asian subcontinent, you come here to England, you feel you may not be accepted because of your colour. If you go back to India, Pakistan or Bangladesh, what happens over there is you may be accepted because of your colour, but you've got westernized ways, so that is a problem. So what I would tell them is, you're British Asian, join the Royal Navy, you get status, and things will be fine.
I think the message is that there is a good first choice career in the armed forces where a son or a daughter can really equip themselves for life, get an education, get a lot of leadership skills, enjoy their time in the armed forces, and when they feel that they want to then return to civilian life, they're equipped to really make a go of it afterwards. So it's a great career opportunity for them.
Well, Humma, here we are. We're in London. We're in Trafalgar Square. It's a beautiful day. What are we going to do now?
I think it's time for a share.
A share. Sounds good to me. Go on then.
What about this one?
Oh my God. I think it's time for a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Program, I'm talking to CPO Qazi Fernandez of the Royal Navy. So how did you join the Navy?
How did I join the Navy? Well, before I joined the Navy, I worked in a factory doing bits and pieces, sweeping the floor, I didn't enjoy that. Then I worked in the garage for a little while. Then I worked in the paint factory, and I thought that's not for me, and I wanted something different in life. I wanted a challenge in life. So I went to the Navy Careers Office, asked them what it was all about, having no idea what I was going to let myself into, and 29 years later, here I am still in there.
Do you need any certain qualifications?
No, you don't need any education qualifications at all. As long as you can pass a naval naval test, and also the physical side and the medical side, and you have no problems joining the Navy.
Okay, and about your personal life, are you married?
Very much so, yes.
Where did you originally come from?
Originally I come from Kenya, Nairobi. I was born in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, and my family originate from Goa in India. That's my father and my mother.
And do you speak any other languages than English?
Swahili.
So that's your mother tongue?
Yes. And I do speak, understand Hindi, Gujarati, and a little bit of Hindi.
So you know quite a few languages?
Well, I can't speak them very fluently, but I do understand them.
So can you say something for our viewers in Swahili, please?
In Swahili, Jambo Bwana Memsab Habari Yako.
Well, I think I do know a bit of that.
Do you know a little bit? So what does it mean?
Is that hello, how are you? Do you have time for social life?
Well, going away and being away, this is one perception of people have got of the Navy. I think in the 29 years I've been in the Navy, I would have spent a total of about 6 years away from my family. In total, that is. That is being on a ship, being away on a deployment, 6 months deployment, coming back in base port. So you have a lot of time with your family.
So being in the Navy doesn't really affect your social life?
No, it doesn't. In fact, it broadens it a lot more.
So you get enough time to spend with your family and children?
Very much so, yes.
And what do you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Me? Well, before, about 10, 12 years ago, up to 12 years ago, I was playing a lot of hockey. I represented England under 21s. I play squash, I play hockey, badminton, socializing, pubs for a drink, discos, you name it, do it.
As an ethnic minority, do you think you've ever had any problems?
To put hand on heart, problems in the sense where people were actually racist at me, or no, not really. But I've had a couple of problems, very minor problems, but these were very, very quickly dealt with by the authorities. Well, that was in the early 70s and 80s, but now it's changed so much. So much is in place now that it's an equal opportunities employer, and if there is a racist problem, or people think of somebody's being a racist, then he's in for the chop.
And is there any additional information you can give to people who want to join the Royal Navy?
If you want a challenge in life, if you want something completely different from your life, you want a trade, you want a career, and you want job satisfaction, a different standard of lifestyle, then yes, do join the Navy.
Okay, thank you, CPO Fernandez, for talking to us at Eurospice.
You're welcome.
Come on, let's go in. That smells lovely. Oh, you're Kevin Williams, aren't you?
That's right, yeah.
You were one of the finalists for Asian Cook.
The International English Chef of the Year final, yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
In Edinburgh.
But you're not all Asian, are you?
No.
But you can cook Asian food?
Try to.
You try to? I've heard that everybody's been boasting about your food. It's really nice. So, how did you learn all this?
Oh, by reading books and...
It's all done by books?
Yeah, reading books and taking tips from my chief cook there and Phil.
And have you had any qualifications for...
Not at all.
You haven't. Do you enjoy making all this?
It's nice because I find Indian cooking, it's more of an art than just cooking. Because of all the different regions of India, you've got all the different spices and different herbs. And knowing how to use them is quite a task, and I respect the people who know all that, and I'm always willing to learn from them.
Right. So how long have you been doing this?
I've been in the Navy for 8 years now. But I took the International Indian Chef of the Year final on as a challenge because I hadn't done this area of cooking before, and it's worked out quite good. And I've had quite a lot of help and experience from Chief Caterer Cotton, which is who works with me on the ship. And without his help and support, I mean, we wouldn't be here today, really. So.
Hi, so I've heard that you can cook Asian food as well.
Well, yeah, we try to do all sorts of different dishes whilst, in the Navy, Mexican food, Chinese food, Indian food. So when the sailors come round, there's a variety for them when they come through the counter, you know, because they like to try other foods as well. So.
Did you have any certain qualification for this?
Not really. It's just an experience, going to different restaurants, having a look at the cultures of other foods, and then just coming back, practicing the dishes, and then putting them together, you know, and just trying them out on the sailors that come round the counter.
And how long have you been practicing?
How long? Well, I've been in the Navy 20 years, so I've had quite a bit of practice at it.
20 years of practice?
20 years, yeah.
So what kind of dishes do you cook?
Oh, at the moment, what, today or throughout the Navy?
Well, throughout the Navy.
Oh, throughout the Navy, we do a bit of French, Mexican, Italian. Like sailors like a lot of pasta. Anything that, you know, that we feel that we'd like to try out with them, then we put on the menu, you know.
And what about the most Asian, what's the most popular Asian dish that you cook?
The most popular will be the curry, the lamb curry. When we're at sea on board the ship, we'll perhaps have a curry night, and we'll do, the chefs in the galley there will perhaps knock out about 3 or 4 different curries. And then obviously there's some people that don't like the curry, so we put out another dish for them. But it's very popular on board the ship when we do a curry. I mean, we're talking about 500 people on board the ship as well, and that's a lot of people for a curry night, and they enjoy it.
As expected, research shows that a negative response is quite typical at this stage. However, I urge you to reconsider. Let's examine the facts. You're a balding and desperate 35-year-old who's still living with his parents. Of the 150 meetings you've had, 149 have been rejections. The one who accepted you has now been deported.
Well, as you can see, London really does have many, many beautiful places to see and beautiful sights to see. And we've just come down the Mall now, and we're outside the one and only Buckingham Palace, the Queen's official residence.
But Prog, you said you were going to take me for a cup of tea.
Well, I don't know about a cup of tea, but we can certainly go and see some royalty.
So come on, Spielberg.
No, hang on. Spielberg can't come with us. It's strictly no cameras. You don't want to go in there anyway, do you, Spielberg? He does. Okay. Well, in that case, I think we're going to have to say goodbye to Spielberg for a while and goodbye to our viewers.
हाँ, तो उम्मीद है कि आपको आज का प्रोग्राम पसंद आएगा। आपने लंदन की साइट्स देखी हैं, हमारी बोट ट्रिप देखी है जिसमें मैं थोड़ा सा feeling a bit sicky.
Yeah, well, I hope you'll be better for next week and next week's program. But until then, do remember to keep your views, letters, postcards coming in. Tell us what you'd like to see. Tell us what you enjoyed about London. But until then, we have to go.
जी हाँ, अपना खत लिखना मत भूलिएगा, हम आपको एड्रेस आखिर में देंगे.
And we'll be back with another exciting program of Eurospice next week with our Spice Chat and our Mystery Box.
Oh, yeah.
So until then, from Humma, from me, Parag, to all of you, it's a massive goodbye!
Send your letters and comments to Eurospice, Asianet, PO Box 38, Greenford, London, UB6 7SP.